Welcome to the Dr. Ed Show. I'm Dr. Edmund Sulkowski, and I don't know if everybody out there is feeling like me, but I had enough of this winter. I'm done with it, but what are you going to do? It's really a cold, nasty day today, but we're going to talk about something fun, a bit of history from Western Pennsylvania, and I think you'll find the show very interesting. Let's welcome my guest, Sherri Sulkowski. Sherri,
nice to
welcome
see
to the Dr.
you,
Ed
Ed.
Show.
Thank you for
Like
having
we
me
haven't
today.
Seen you too long ago, but
Well, yeah, we do get together from time to time.
yeah, we do.
Yes.
You know, Sherri was probably familiar to a lot of you out there because Sherri had a show on this very channel called
Knit On. Yes.
And in
For
fact,
about 5 years.
yeah, in fact, Sherri made all of my miniature dachshund coats for me. And kept them warm in the winter. So they were all custom made because I had
Yeah.
little longer ones, little
Yes.
shorter ones.
Yes.
She took measurements
yeah.
and made coats. But I was able to, when they passed, I was able to pass those on to other
Nice.
people that needed them.
Nice.
So,
Good.
so Sherri has a lot of talent, and she's had a varied career. You had a knitting store for a while, which is
Little bit, yeah.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was.
My grandmother taught me how to knit. I made a pot holder one time. I couldn't do it if you gave me $1 million to do it now, but
It might come back to you.
she said to me, "You got to learn how to do it." And I said, "Okay, Gram." And we sat there and
Yes.
did it. I don't even know what happened to that pot holder, but you really have to have some nice hand skills to be able to sit there and do that.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between knitting and crocheting?
The short answer is knitting is 2 needles, crochet is 1 hook. So,
And
yeah.
it's little finer threads.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, it's all art. It's
Yes.
all beautiful.
Yeah, and enjoyable.
Yeah, and
That's
then you
the
went.
best part.
Then I know you were in the wine industry for a while.
I was in the wine industry for about 5 years. I was what was referred to as a wine consultant. So
I think a wine
sold,
taster, but we're not going to talk
well, we did a
about
little
that.
tasting as well, yes, but helped people build their personal collections clear up to investment grade wines. So it was really interesting.
And I don't,
Loved it.
I don't drink wine, but I couldn't tell you the difference between wine in a box and wine in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, over the course of time, you kind of get acclimated and
Yeah.
you know, educate your palate, and yeah. But it was a great gig while I had it. I really loved it very much. Yes.
And you may also know that Sherri is married to James Sulkowski.
I am.
Our
yeah, for
artist.
about 100 years. Yeah.
No, I don't think it's been that long. But and Jim had a show on this channel as well.
Yeah, he did for a long time. Let's
Talk
Paint.
Painting.
Yeah.
So
The artist in residence of Peters
yeah.
Township High School. Yeah.
So, and that's another claim to fame for you.
I guess. Yeah. A lot of hats.
Everybody thinks he's either my uncle or my brother. But anyway.
He would just say yes.
Yeah, he would just say yes. No, Jim. Yeah. But you're doing something really interesting now because
think I am, yeah.
you're working for a museum.
A museum in Washington called the Duncan and Miller Glass Museum.
And I
Yes.
remember Duncan and Miller hearing that name when I was a little kid. In fact, you brought us some things we're going to talk about.
Yes.
And I actually remember seeing these things in my parents' house.
Yes.
I don't know.
A lot of Washington County homes would have had, especially the first piece that I brought to show today. It's probably still our most iconic piece. Like I said, most households would have had one sitting on a buffet or something like that. We still use them a great deal in the museum. We have a whole case of the swans in varying shapes, sizes, colors. And we have an event coming up that is called the Swan Ball that we named after that iconic piece just because it is our most recognizable.
And we'll go into details about the
Yeah.
Swan Ball. So, you know, when we buy glasses, I mean, it's hard to even think about it. We just go to a store and stuff is made by machine in Japan.
Right.
Or China.
Right.
Mostly China nowadays. But it was actually a handcrafted event to have glass.
Exactly.
And it was a show of wealth, even just a drinking glass.
Right. Oh, yes, absolutely. But it was meant for everyday use. Duncan and Miller was meant to be affordable enough to be in most houses, but a lot of handcrafting going into it. This piece in particular is the Pall Mall. I think I'm moving in the wrong direction. Sorry. The Pall Mall swan. Pall Mall is this elliptical oval body. That part would have been pressed, so there would have been several artisans that worked with the mold and the press and all of that. And then the head on this one you'll see is clear glass, and that would have been applied by hand. So all in, start to finish, from the mold maker to who poured the glass and who fashioned the head, 14 people would have been working on this piece.
So this isn't glued to this.
No,
This is
no.
they use heat to melt the glass
Correct.
together.
Correct. Yes. So this part would have been molded, and then this, and so that would have been hot, and then this would have been a separate hot glass piece that was then applied. So we never pick it up by the head, obviously. I mean, they are very secure, but you don't take your chances with it.
And this is an original piece.
This is an original piece, absolutely.
So let's talk
and this
a little...
is Ruby. The color name of the body is Ruby, and they do come in different colors.
Colors including clear.
Including clear.
So let's give a little history.
Sure.
This area was known for a lot of history and a
Yes.
lot of manufacturing.
Yes,
Glass
absolutely.
being one of them.
Exactly.
So tell us how that happened.
How that happened? Well, for Duncan and Miller in particular, they started the company on the south side of Pittsburgh, which used to be called Birmingham. They had a factory there. There was a factory fire. So they were either going to rebuild or move about that same time, and this would have been pre-1900. They were approached by the powers that were in Washington, because there was kind of the beginning boom of energy here. So they were starting to harness the natural energy that was in this area. Approached Duncan and Miller about building here on a site that was on Jefferson Avenue in Washington, because they would have had their own free, because it was on site, production of energy. So that would have been huge for them. You can imagine the amount of energy that they would have gone through producing hot glass.
It's all by hot fire all the time.
Yes, exactly.
So would they have used coal or natural gas?
Natural gas.
Natural gas.
Yes. And it was starting to be produced here in the area. There were oil and gas wells all over. If you look at old, and we have one in the museum actually, and it has the spots where there would have been wells, and they were like right in Washington. So they came here, and they were in production in Washington until 1955.
And they started here when in Washington?
They started pre-1900. I think it was 1870. Yes.
Or something like that?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So the museum that you have now is not in one of the original buildings.
No, it's at 100 Ridge Avenue. It used to be an office building that was being sold. The interior didn't have weight-bearing walls, so they could take all of these little kind of rabbit warren offices out of it and open it up and put glass shelving and all the display pieces that we needed to accommodate the permanent collection.
So all the years that they were making glass there, I could imagine in the summertime that was a horrendous place to work.
I would think,
because
yeah.
You're talking about all these flames everywhere.
Right, and no air conditioning.
And no air conditioning,
yeah.
Probably a little cozy in the winter.
Probably.
But, you could just imagine how hot that would have been in there.
But they did have very long employees who worked for them a very long time. We have records of gentlemen being recognized for 60 years of employment there. So it did tend to be people who stayed a very long time and then brought another generation in. Sons would come in, daughters would come in. Women did a lot of decorating and etching and those kinds of things in the factory. So it was a multi-generational business.
So this product, the glass that they made, was sold throughout the United States?
Absolutely. They had showrooms all over the United States as well as some in Europe. It was used on movie sets. It was used on TV sets. Like there are candelabras in the Three Stooges on a mantle, from what I understand, and those were Duncan and Miller. So it was very much used in homes as well as other places.
And all produced in Washington, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
people, we don't talk enough about the history here.
No. Glass making actually has a longer lifespan than steel in this area. More decades of production.
And then Canonsburg had Canonsburg Pottery,
Yes.
which was owned by the George family.
Yes.
And there were actually two separate George companies. And those products went all over. In
Yes.
fact, you know, we were real close with the George family, and we grew up eating off of all their plates all the time. And
Yeah.
I go around looking for anything I see in thrift shops. I go in looking
Canonsburg
for
pottery,
Canonsburg
I know,
pottery
yes.
items. And
Yes, it's still very popular.
And I had a shelf of them in my basement just on display, and the shelf broke.
Oh.
And I lost a lot of them, so I'm out
Tragic.
looking again.
Yeah.
So if anybody has any Canonsburg pottery stuff.
We get it every once in a while at the museum. People donate a lot of collections and glassware and all kinds of things, and we do from time to time get some Canonsburg pottery. Yeah.
And you can go online and actually on the you know, different sites, and people will be selling these everyday use things, and now they're collectible items.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes seeing those things is such a bit of nostalgia. Like you remember grandma's dishes that had the certain flour on it or the certain edging on it or whatever. So I think it's very much a part of an ingrained, you know, part of our past and part of our memories. And yeah,
but everybody forgets about it because history seems to dissipate.
Well, we have to keep it alive. That's why we have things like museums, and collectors, you know, that do that.
So what sort of happened at the production of this glass, Duncan and Miller?
Yeah, outsourcing. So it was much cheaper to have things brought in from places like China, so the company closed in 1955. One of the interesting things about that is a lot of the molds, so as long as you have the mold, you can still produce, you know, the whatever it is, the swan or the fish that we'll talk about as well. Those molds were sold to a place in Tiffin, Ohio, and they had a Duncan a part of their production was just Duncan. Now they would do different colors that Duncan had done so that you could tell what was original Duncan and what was Tiffin. But in their sales agreement of all those molds and equipment and what have you, James Duncan made sure that any worker that wanted to go out and work at Tiffin could do so. And there were a lot of them that did that. And a lot of them commuted as well. They would go out, work the week, come home for the weekend, see their family, their kids, their, you know, whatever, and then go back out Monday and start working again and go till Friday.
Because it's actually a craft, an art, and a skill. It takes
absolutely. Absolutely. But I think that, you know, it had to have been heartbreaking that, you know, third generation glass company owner is having to give up his, you know, his business, but he still writes into the sales agreement that his workers will have jobs if they choose.
That doesn't happen today.
Right. No, that doesn't happen that way.
So the origins of Duncan Miller were two business partners that got together, one named Duncan, one named Miller?
Originally, George Duncan and Sons, and then John Ernest Miller came into the business and was enough of a presence in the building that then became a partner, and then it became known as Duncan and Miller. Yes.
And that was often how much of this stuff you had in your house was kind of a level of your status of wealth.
Oh, I would think so. Yes. Yeah. I mean, candelabras, and I mean, they made all kinds of things. They made glassware,
just
know,
regular
like wine
drinking,
glasses
everyday, ordinary glasses,
juice tumblers, and all kinds of things. Yes.
And
tableware.
They had this display outlets
all over the country. Yes, we have a list of those, and they are literally in every state. Yes, as well as a few outside of the United States. So it was a really productive company for a very long time. They say that 70% of the people that lived in Washington, the city, at some point in their life worked in glass. And I actually found out, you know, I lived out on a farm in McGuffey and very rural, and never thought that my ancestors were anything except farmers, and I have census records and all kinds of things. But when I started working at the museum, there is a book that was written about them actually opening in Washington. So lots of pictures of the employees, and there's a group shot just some guys sitting on the stairs and, kind of starting the day, and somebody took a picture. And my great-grandfather actually worked at the Duncan and Miller factory when it first opened. And we think that he worked there a short time because in census records, he's never listed as a glass worker. He's always, 10-year spans are the census records. So I think he just worked there for a short time and was saving money because his employment would have been before he got married and before he bought the farm that I grew up on. Because he passed right before I was born. My great-grandmother was still alive, so there were 4 generations of us living on this farm that I think he probably financed, having worked in Duncan and Miller. So it's a very interesting company. It's very wide-reaching. People still talk about their grandparents talking about having worked at the factory and what that was like, and
Yeah, a totally different world than what we're living in now.
Yes.
So this is kind of interesting.
Yes.
I would call this a goldfish, but it's not a goldfish. What is this?
It's called the Sanibel. They did a whole line that were produced and had nautical themes to them. I'm not getting myself turned here the right way at all. So this originally actually would have been an ashtray, and the fins would have been where the cigarette could have laid if you were using it as such.
You can see how that would work.
Right. We don't quite talk about that heredity part of the heredity of this piece. We even do some children's programming with this piece, which is really fun. The kids love it because we do have this mold in the museum. So the kids can see how it's made. There's 2 pieces that fit down into each other so that it is 3-dimensional on both sides. This mold is actually out at a place called Mosser in Ohio, and we're having it reproduced again. The National Duncan Glass Society that owns the museum used to have this reproduced for their members, and they haven't done that for 10 years. And I was able to make arrangements to have a new reproduction made, and it will be the gift to our guests at the Swan Ball that is in March. Oh. So I'm really excited about this piece.
So if I walk into, I would imagine you'd see these in different resale shops,
I have not seen any of the fish per se. I mean,
well,
you could.
Just say any Duncan Miller product.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
How do I know I'm not getting a remake? Because I look at this, Sherri.
Good question.
This looks absolutely brand new. It looks like you just went out and bought it. It was just made and bought.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the collector would be able to look at it. That one actually has some wear and tear from being used, and I use it when I entertain in the museum. So it has a couple of little marks on it or what have you, but still very usable. I mean, I put it out on buffets, and we put crackers or mixed nuts or all kinds of things in it. So it is very resilient. I would have to say, knock on wood, I haven't broken anything since I started working there almost
you don't want me
2 years ago. Yeah. Well, we even let kids handle it, not necessarily the swans per se, but we have a whole glass table, a table of glass, I should say, in the museum that we call Touch the Glass.
So
and
you
we
can
let
pick
people,
it up and touch it.
just like this piece. This is very resilient. I'm not going to drop it on the floor to show you, but I mean, if you drop this, it's probably 99.9% sure that it's not going to fracture. But the kids love it, and they love the texture. Some of it's very faceted, other pieces that we have on the table, and they love playing with that stuff. And of course, parents are generally having a heart attack because they're afraid. But I think it's better to let them touch things and experience things. And if something got broken, I wouldn't want somebody to get hurt, of course, but I can throw that piece of glass away and get another one. I would rather have it used and enjoyed. Same with the glass cases. When the kids leave, there's just fingerprints. I would rather have to clean everything than not to ever have somebody see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really an interesting place to work, and great to see people's reaction to the glass.
Yeah, a little artsy that I am.
Yeah.
I was taking classes on making stained glass things.
Oh yes.
But the glass is so sharp.
Yes.
And I was getting these little microfines, and I can't do that being in medical practice.
Yes.
I can't have my
hands
tissue
beat
all
up too
torn
much.
up.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
so I stopped. But you can really be creative with glass.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen actually people that blow glass
Oh, yeah.
and make these shapes. I don't know how they don't burn themselves because the heat is intense.
It's very intense, yes.
But they've been doing that for centuries,
Centuries,
making beautiful
yes.
things with glass.
Yes. And we are in the process of expanding our museum. And when that is completed, we are very, very hopeful that we will be able to pour glass again. We would like to have a hot shop when we expand. Because we have those molds, we can actually pour glass and do reproductions in-house if we choose to. We won't have to send it out to Ohio and have it done at Mosser like we're doing.
So do you think maybe even having classes on how to do that
Yeah,
kind of thing?
absolutely. It's going to really open up a lot of possibilities for what we can do if we, I mean, we are expanding. There's a lot of regulations, of course, with, you know, insurance and what have you, that
safety
all
and
have
all
to
that
be
stuff.
worked through as far as a hot shop, but that is the intention, yes.
Nice.
Yes.
So is there lead in here? No.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Did they make any glasses with lead in it?
Well, they made it with a lot of different compounds, and I actually took the chart. We have a chart up in the museum of, you know, what was put into so that it made each of the colors, and I took it. There was a really cool STEAM project at the Trolley Museum. Partners of ours, we do a lot with them. All of the Washington County museums are very well connected together, and they had a STEAM event, and so I took all colored glass and talked about the elements that went into each of those, so that when it is fired, it turns ruby, or it turns green, or it turns, you know, whichever color
Like
the intention
using
is.
copper, magnesium,
Right.
cobalt.
Right, and I don't have them memorized, so
Yeah.
don't quiz me. But yeah, it's really interesting, and the kids really tuned into that. They were high school age, but they really tuned into the science of it and the artistry of it. It was really interesting for them, I think.
So Duncan Miller became known first for their swans.
No, actually, swans were much later in their production. I would say, and we have cases that start with their life in Pittsburgh and kind of go chronologically through. I would say more housewares in the beginning.
Just everyday use products.
Yes, like for instance, and I have a couple of them in my house because I just happen to love them, what was called a biscuit jar back then, which is what we would call a cookie jar. And it's a pattern that is called block. It looks very modern to me. It's very geometric, square, heavy.
Made out of glass.
But it's glass, yes, absolutely. But it's kind of pineapple shaped, I would say. The body of it has a lid to it. That's one of the earliest pieces. So I would say glassware and house goods were there earlier. And then it kind of progressed down further down that case. Still in that Pittsburgh section, we have pieces that were made for churches, you know, glass crucifixes and candle holders and those sorts of things were still made in Pittsburgh. Yeah, so I would say in the beginning, these are more toward the end of their production, like 40s and 50s, I believe.
So as they were, I mean, you may not know this, but maybe you do. When
I'll
they were
try.
starting to close down,
Yes.
did they just start closing the retail stores first and they kept the factory going, and then as sales went down, they just...
Yeah, gosh, that's a good question. I don't know that answer. I really don't know that answer. I mean, I know the demand because of the, you know, prices being lower on imported glass. I think the demand for domestically made glass was going down. You know, which is how we got to where
with everything.
Yes, exactly.
And that's how we are where we got to today. Which
Right.
We're in trouble because of that.
Right. We need to have
reverse
things
that.
made closer
Yeah.
to home. Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned Duncan Miller's society. So tell us about
Yes.
that. How did that even
Yeah,
form?
well, there were collectors that got together in 1975 and thought that there should be a society that carried on the heritage of this. It was known as the loveliest glassware in America, and they thought that that should be carried on. And so for 50 years, we just had our golden anniversary last year with a gala at the George Washington Hotel and had all kinds of celebrations during that year. So they established the society, which used to have chapters all over the United States. Now we're just in Washington, but we do have members outside of Washington. So the society has owned at least part of a museum for 50 years. They used to have one room in another museum. Then it progressed to a house on Jefferson Avenue, and then from Jefferson Avenue to our 100 Ridge Avenue location that we're in now.
And how long have you been there?
They've been there since, I believe, 2017. They moved into that building. So lots of construction to get it ready and put displays in and do all of the things that they needed to do construction-wise, yes.
And then how many people were at the museum on a given day as far as employees go?
Oh gosh, we have a lot of volunteers, so it varies. We have a whole team that comes in and process anything that is donated to us. It's washed, it's cataloged, they decide where it's going to go, what it's going to be used for. There are people changing out permanent collection upstairs in the cases. We have a docent who runs the front desk and gives tours. I'm there planning special events. I'm generally there, unless I'm in appointments, I'm generally in the museum. So there could be anywhere from 3 to 12 people during the day, depending on what's going on. If we're doing things for an event, like for instance, the Swan Ball that we have coming up on March 21st, people will be coming in, putting together raffle baskets and auction baskets and all kinds of things for that event.
So I've got to imagine it's a daily chore to keep the dust off all of these items.
Well, they're in glass cases, so it's cleaned once a year, and we do that from Christmas through, we're reopening this year, March 1st. We usually open April 1st.
So you close what time of the year?
We close right after the holiday.
Right after Christmas?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then you're down for 2 or 3
Yeah,
months.
we take everything apart, wash everything, put it back in. Yeah, it is a big job. It is a big job, but we have a lot of help. It's great. It's really great, yeah.
And so to become a member of the society, how do you do that?
Yeah, well, we have a great website. We have a membership page on there. It's duncan-miller.org is our website. There's, like I said, a way to join on there. It's very easy. It's not terribly expensive. It gets you in for a year. We have great parties that are members only. There's events in the museum all of the time. I generally try to do 2 to 3 events per month in the museum. And then there's, things like the Swan Ball, and that's at the George Washington, which is a really beautiful venue. And we have a long history with the George Washington. All of the Duncan and Miller Company events were there back in the day.
George Washington has a long history.
Yes. So beautiful historic hotel. And this is the second year of us doing a big gala with them. They're an amazing venue, an amazing team to work with, very efficient. We love working with them. Yeah, they're incredible, really incredible. And newer owner, so it's gone through an extensive renovation in the building. So everything is beautifully ornate in the way that you think of something being old-fashioned, but it's clean and fresh and new like you think of being new. Like last year when we were in the ballroom, we were the first people to have an event in the ballroom. It was almost like dancing on glass. The ballroom floor had just been redone. It was really pretty cool. Yeah. Yes.
So we have this swan.
Yes.
And I see another swan head poking out of the flowers.
Yeah,
so tell us about that.
So this one actually sits on our welcome table in the museum. And this is just some silk flowers that we did in this clear swan. And I always go opposite, I apologize. And she just sits on our welcome table. And this is the most easily obtained color is the clear. So, but you can see, you can do a lot with them. It's, this is kind of our homage to Susan Reed, who is at Malone's Flowers in Canonsburg, did our centerpieces.
Well, the original loans were our relatives.
Yes,
so,
yes,
so,
long-standing. Yeah, these businesses are still around.
Kid, I used to work in the
flower
shop.
How nice! But she did our centerpieces for the Golden Anniversary Gala They were all in clear swans. Some of them were on crystal pedestals, so they almost looked like they were flying through the ballroom. And she did these beautiful centerpieces for us in the clear swans. So yeah, we just decided to keep that going this year, and we sell our centerpieces. I probably could have sold twice as many as I had last year. Everybody wanted one, so it's a lot of fun at the ball. We have dinner, we dance. It's a blast.
Are these in reproduction, or they're just all
No.
original? So if I see something like that in a shop, I should pick that up right away.
You probably should, yes. Now, there were other companies that made swans, but that sort of wide toward the neck elliptical body shape is definitely Duncan.
Almost
and
looks
Duncan
like a
did
leaf.
not, yeah, exactly. There is one that is called Sylvan, and it has like even the veining like a leaf. But Duncan did not believe in marking their glass, so there is not.
Which
yes.
I was going to ask you, is there a
Yes.
Duncan Miller mark on there?
No, but collectors can tell Duncan. They're very well finished on the bottom. There's a lot of hand finishing. So Duncan collectors know what to look for in a Duncan piece.
Yes, yeah, I wouldn't.
Yes.
I would be clueless. I would be scammed in a second.
Yeah, I'm not a glass historian or collector. I mean, I have pieces that I love, but I'm not an expert on it just yet, so.
Sherri, we're going to take our first break
Yes.
here, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little more detail about the museum,
Okay.
and then we'll end up talking about the ball. and
Excellent.
what
It's a
everybody-
deal.
How we can attend that,
Yes.
and how much fun that is.
Yeah.
And I would remind everybody that I have my radio show, Dr. Ed's Show,
Mm-hmm.
every Saturday morning live at 9 a.m. on AM 1250 The Answer and 92.5 FM. Plus it gets on Rumble and all those social media stuff. I have nothing to do with that. But it gets archived and gets put into a podcast. And we do a lot of health shows. We do a lot of other shows. In fact, Sherri's husband, Jim,
Yes.
was on them, and I got so many calls from
Yeah.
that show. It was
Excellent.
incredible. You know, and
Excellent.
it's very difficult because you have to paint a picture with words.
Yes.
There's no visual aspect of it all.
Yeah.
And we must have done that because people really enjoyed that,
Yes.
that show with Jim. So
He
when
enjoyed doing it with you.
when
yes.
I can get Jim back on there.
Oh, he would
you
do it
know.
anytime.
Yeah, we did it here where we brought some of my paintings on, and
Nice.
he beat them up for me. We'll be back after this break here. Welcome back to Dr. Ed's Show. I'm Dr. Edmund Sulkowski, and we're here with Sherri Sulkowski talking about local history, incredible local history. People, I don't know if local history is even taught in the schools these
I
days.
don't think so.
These days,
I
you
know.
And
But we have to keep it alive.
well, we have such a history here with churches, with colleges, Washington, Jefferson and started in Canonsburg, Washington, started
Exactly.
in Washington.
Yes.
You know, the history is incredible. And manufacturing was incredible.
Manufacturing was huge in this area because of the energy available here. Yes.
The rivers.
Yes.
I don't know if the climate was that great, but you know.
The railroad.
The railroad.
Yeah. So all of those things came together and made manufacturing very popular in this area. Yes.
So Duncan Miller had a glass company here in
Correct.
Washington, and now Duncan Miller has a museum here in Washington.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
So tell us about how this standalone museum came to be
Yes.
and how we can become a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's at 100 Ridge Avenue in Washington,
Which is I can't place. I don't go to Washington a lot. and
Yeah,
even though I
if
went
you
to
were-
W&J, I don't remember hearing of
Oh,
Ridge
well,
Avenue.
we're just like next door neighbors with W&J. But if you went on Route 19 to Washington, and you know where Bud Bayer, the
Yes.
car dealership is, we're right around the corner from that. Just
Okay.
a sharp left from there.
Oh, so you actually overlooked W&J.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes, we've
okay.
had interns from there that have walked, back and forth, and
it's
it's
close
very
by.
convenient. Very convenient. Yes. So it is a 6,000 square foot first level that is all display space, including glass cases of glassware. There's a
Glass on glass. Huh?
glass on glass.
Is there parking available?
Oh,
around the
lots
building?
of parking. Yes, we have our own parking lot, so you don't have to do parallel parking or anything, which is great. Handicap accessible as well. So, big glass cases full of our permanent collection, including our swans, which we have here today. We have a living area that is set up circa, I believe it's 1935, set up the way a kitchen and living area would have been, and including the Duncan that they would have used in the home. There's also a manufacturing area where we have a lot of the tools and a couple of molds, a lot of the mechanical drawings that they would have done leading up to making the molds, so that we have that area as well. So it's a really beautifully done museum.
You're open every month of the year?
Well, we generally close after Christmas. Until this year, we were closed until the beginning of April, but this year we're reopening the beginning of March. We're open Thursday through Sunday, 11 to 4.
Okay, so you're closed Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Yes, although we are available by appointment for tours as well. So if you, even if it was, just an individual, you could make an appointment outside of those hours, and we certainly do group tours a great deal outside of those hours as well.
So you open up on your normal hours from what time to what time?
11 to 4.
11 to 4.
Thursday through Sunday, yes.
Do I need to, I can just drive up, park, go in?
Yes, you can.
And is there an admission fee?
Tours are $10, yes. And we have a docent that does a very in-depth, takes you through all of the areas from, like I referred to in the last show, we have what we call our Pittsburgh wall, which is all product that was made by George Duncan and Sons in Pittsburgh before they moved to Washington. She takes you through all of those pieces, what the names are, what the use of it was, because a lot of these pieces, like for instance, I was saying to you that I have biscuit jars, and that's something that we don't generally think of now. Now we more likely call them a cookie jar, but there are pieces in the collection because of the evolution of, the way that we set tables and the things that we serve at home. There are things that we no longer use on our tables, and she goes through the uses of all of those and why it was popular and why you registered for that as your wedding gift and all of those things. So it's a very nice tour. It's generally a little over an hour.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a pretty lengthy tour.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to see. Like I said, 6,000 square feet, and we have everything from, George Duncan and Sons, which started, in the Civil War era up to when they closed in Washington in 1955. So decades of glass production.
So that was 70 years ago.
Yes, and we also feature some of the other, we have rotating cases, meaning we change things out of those. We do also honor some of the other Washington area glassmakers. So we generally have a couple of cases full of them and feature them as well, because it wasn't just this company.
it was a
Hazel Atlas,
Yeah.
and there was one just called Washington Company that mostly did decorating on other glassware. And so it was a really thriving industry, very thriving industry. It was behind the economy of the city of Washington for a long time.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I was actually
Really
aware
vital.
of that. Yeah.
Yes.
So you also have a gift shop.
We have a gift shop where we sell all kinds of vintage glass, some newer pieces, including pieces like this, which is a reproduction from one of our molds. We actually have another reproduction, different color than the one that I'm holding today. It's out in Ohio being reproduced right now at the same manufacturer that makes Martha Stewart's glassware. And we're having it done in a very special color called jadeite. It will be the gift to all our guests at our Swan Ball in March. And it's special to me because it's the first time in 10 years that the Duncan and Miller Glass Society has done a reproduction. They used to do a different color of this fish from this mold every year for the members, but it's been 10 years since they have done that. These are the last two of this color. This is a red iridescent. It might be hard to pick this up on the cameras, but it's a red glass that has an iridescent finish on the surface. These are the last two that I know of that are available, and these will be a very special prize to someone who attends our Swan Ball next month. We have some surprise bags that will be on sale, and this will be in one of those bags. So somebody will be very happy. Somebody will be very happy that they got the last two of the, and that's a really interesting piece to me as well, because we've designed some children's programming around that piece. And children's programming was something that I thought was really important for the museum, because a lot of people don't think of taking a child to a glass museum. They think it should be hands off. And so we've been doing some really special things, and one of our programs has to do with that
I would
fish.
think you wouldn't want to have anybody, maybe a bull in a glass factory there. So
we're pretty well bolted down. Like our cases are solid, and everything in them is locked, and I don't really worry about it a whole lot, to be honest with you.
So how many members are in the society?
We have around 230, I believe, and some of them are, you know, all over the country. I would say the bulk of them are in this area, which is nice because we do a lot of socializing. We have great parties. The president of our board has a farm, and we have big cookouts at the farm, and then an auction afterward, which is great because you can get some unique pieces at the auctions. And we do like to socialize.
Yeah.
They're very social members, yes.
So can you actually hold an event at the museum if you wanted to?
You can, and we actually are available to rent as a venue, yes. And if you do that and you choose to, we will set the tables the way we do them, with vintage china, vintage glassware. We will put together centerpieces if you wish. So it is someplace that you can have an event. And we have had, there's a really interesting group called the Cookie Table Ladies. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No.
This really big Facebook presence of ladies who do cookie tables for weddings, and they were doing a celebration and wanted a unique venue, and so they came and had a dinner in the museum. And there's always, as a part of renting the museum, then you have the tour as well. So we did a private tour for them after their dinner.
If someone was interested in doing that, they would contact you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And then you'd arrange everything.
Yeah, I have somebody coming in later this month. I believe he's the chairman of the board of the Washington Symphony, and they are looking to do a donors event. So they will be coming and looking at the museum and see if it accommodates, you know, what they need to have for that donor event, and we'll host them there if they choose to. Yeah.
And I'm sure you're pretty good at it, because I remember the events you used to hold for Jim
at
the studio.
Well, it's something that has always interested me, and this has just been like a kid in a candy store. I mean, they turned me loose with all of this vintage glassware that I'm allowed to.
Sherri.
No, they didn't know any better. So, you know, I get to set the table with all kinds of vintage silver and glass and china and have a good time with it. Last year we did what we called our vintage bridal shower, where the bride dressed in a period dress, and she opened gifts that would have been appropriate for a bride who was going to be setting up housekeeping in 1938. We had one of our historians comment on each of those items as she opened it. We served a lunch, which was really beautifully done. Everybody was really kind of wowed by the way, but we set that's the way we set the table for things, like it would have been, you know, done back, you know, decades ago. And we're doing actually two of those this coming year, one in June and one in October, because we sold out last year. So I added another session for that one. So there again, we will have somebody dressed. This time we're actually doing Victorian, and it's a tea party. So we will be serving tea and a 3-course tea.
So do you ask people to come dressed in old apparel?
Well, they don't have to. They certainly don't have to. But you know, if they chose to, I would not discourage it. Yes, I think it makes it fun. But our bride will definitely be dressed in the period.
So when the different holidays come around, do you change the decorations for the accommodate
We
the
do
holidays?
have some things that we change out. Yes, the permanent collection stays in at least a year in the cases that they are in. That's a bigger change. But like I decorated for the holidays, we had, red berries in the living area and on the chandelier that's in the living area, and red candles and things that we put out as they would have done, because we have, a living, breathing living area. So we decorated it the way they would have done if it had been their home.
So when you walk in and you walk into the reception area,
Yes.
what's that set up like?
You would come in, and the docent's desk is right there, and she checks you in, and you decide whether you're going to do a tour or whether you're just there to shop. The gift shop is on your right as you enter the building.
So you can just go shop and you don't have to.
You can, sure,
yeah.
absolutely. I would say, 90% of the people that come in for a tour. And we're also getting set up for a self-guided tour, which is, you listen to on your phone with a headset and what have you. And but we will also have a docent available for those who want her to be able to walk through with you, which would be my preference. She just has amazing facts and interesting things about the items.
It's so much more personal.
Yes.
When it's,
Yes.
everything's becoming so impersonal now.
Yeah. I think the self-guided one's going to go about 30 minutes, and she goes an hour or over, depending on how many questions you ask. Yeah.
I think if I have to press 3 one more time, I'm going to crawl
Well,
through
we're
the
old
phone.
school, Ed. We're old school. We don't
just-
want to press 3.
Yeah, I always, before I got my medical degree, I was into all that electronic stuff.
Yes.
And I'm a first adapter of all of it, but it's become so impersonal now that I just want to talk to somebody. I want a
Right.
result
Yeah.
without all this
Yeah.
aggravation.
Right.
you
I
know.
agree.
So
I agree.
just
Well,
went
we're
through
very hands-on and very personal.
I just went through
at the
that this
museum.
morning,
Yeah.
so I'm a little
Yeah.
bit
A
raw
little
on it
touchy
right
about
now.
it?
Yeah.
All right.
If I
Yeah.
could have gone through the phone and strangled that AI thing, I would have. But we got to get back
Right.
to old school, because that's
Yeah.
when had value to life over
Well,
here.
some of those things
I'm
are
not a
coming
machine.
back. Like they're calling them the grandma hobbies, things like knitting and entertaining and doing dinner parties. And, those are all things that we do. We do classes on how to do flower arranging in your vintage glassware. And we do these things where we set the table with, 3 sizes of glasses and the teacup and all of the silverware. We do that in the museum. I think it's important to keep those things alive.
I agree with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I think it all started
fun.
when we weren't allowed to kiss grandma, and during COVID.
Oh, well.
And hug anybody. They started to
That
rip
didn't
all
do
that away
any of
from
us
us.
any good, I don't think.
Like I said, I adapt to all this. I have a biometric ring
Yeah.
on, and I need this ring to tell me I didn't sleep well last night. I know I didn't sleep well last night. I'm making fun of all this stuff, but
Yeah.
you get wrapped up into it.
True.
You know?
It's very
I
true.
got a
Yeah.
self-driving car. Do I really need a
I
self-driving
don't think you
car?
do. You've been driving long enough to do it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But I don't know.
Yeah.
The world's getting crazier.
It
so I
is.
think when you can get back to a little more old school,
Right.
and
Right.
and stay away from this junk,
Yeah.
the better off you are. But I
Right.
think your quality of life's better.
I agree. I agree. And having social functions like we're having next month, our Swan Ball. I've been married to Jim, for a long time now, and during the 90s, like having big events and socializing, we did that all the time, and then we got away from that. So this is a really great opportunity for people to get dressed up, go to a beautiful venue, have their photograph taken with their spouse or whoever they come with. We have a professional photographer that does portraits while we're there, takes candids through the evening. We have dinner and dancing and live music and auctions. So it's very interactive. Everybody that I know that came last year is coming this year. I mean, they couldn't wait to come back. But I think there again, we've gotten away from those things.
Yeah, I mean,
Going out and
our
dressing
family
up.
every October has a walk in woods
Yes.
at Ohio Powell. We have
Yes.
family and friends.
Tradition.
We've been doing it for like 40 years.
Yes.
And you actually look forward.
Sometimes we take the dogs.
And sometimes you
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Sometimes 20 people show up. Sometimes 3 people show
Right.
up. 5 depending on the weather.
Exactly.
And even when I lived in
Exactly.
Arizona, I used to fly in every October just to
Yes, I remember.
attend
Yeah.
the picnic.
Right.
And people are somehow And again, I'm going to throw it back to COVID, and that manipulation of what they did. It seemed to break all of that.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think people are yearning to get back to like pre-COVID, like socializing and having a dinner party and, you know, inviting people over, and, you know, those things are becoming more important again. And they say people are starting to collect again. Some of our newest members are in their 20s. Yeah, some of our newest members have been in their 20s, which is really interesting to me. And we actually then ended up hiring one of them to do all of our social media for the museum. So yeah, that's been interesting to me to watch them, you know, be interested. You know, there's a kind of glass called uranium glass that glows under a black light. And of course, you know, kids that age are very into that one. And it is really interesting and beautiful. But yeah, to see them, you know, out in auction bidding on things because they want it for their personal collection is really sweet to me. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get back to basics.
I know. I think it would be good for us. I think it would be good for us for sure. Yeah.
And you know, this place has so much history. I mean, even we were all together for New Year's Eve at
Century Inn.
Century Inn. Although I love Century Inn, it's different now. Post fire.
Right.
Beautiful and extraordinary.
Gorgeous.
And I don't think that you could ever rebuild a place the way they did it. It's amazing.
Amazing.
But you got to go out and do those things.
I agree.
The history is here. We have
I
it.
agree.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about local history, like we don't teach our kids about the Whiskey Rebellion, and they have the Whiskey Rebellion flag in the inn. And I think, you know, we can't let those things get lost. You know, like you were saying, this area is so rich in local history.
Yeah.
So rich.
I mean, even like my fraternity, Phi Gamma Delta, started in Canonsburg, National Fraternity.
Right.
Started here.
Here.
And it was
Is that why you pledged that one?
Actually, I didn't know it at the time
okay.
until I pledged. But
lucky you.
Because no one taught me.
Right.
And I was actually in the log cabin that was out front of the junior high school, inside, which not many people get to go in. And then happened to pledge the fraternity. So because I was on the historical society, so I got in there and was doing some maintenance on the place. It's just incredible, the history.
Right.
And,
right.
You know, so we got to start teaching it in the school.
I know. And I would also say, you know, the Duncan and Miller Glass Museum, of course, is my favorite, but we do have great museums in Washington County. There's the Trolley Museum in Arden. There's the Bradford House. There's the Lemoyne House. There's Meadowcroft. There's a couple that are starting down in the Mon Valley. I won't be able to think of the names of them off the top of my head, but we have really vital museums in Washington County, which I think a lot of people don't really know about. And you know, the Trolley Museum just went through a huge expansion. They're really amazing. They are really amazing. Yeah. We've had parties over there as well. Last year, when it was our 50th anniversary, we had a big party over there as well because we needed more space. But yeah, the history and the museums that support all of that are really very vital here in Washington County.
So let's talk about how we can become members of Duncan
Yes,
Miller
absolutely.
Society.
Well, I would say the easiest way is to, you know, jump on our website, which is brand new. We just had a designer redo our website, and it's duncan-miller.org. And we have a membership page on there. It's very easy.
A little membership fee.
Yes.
And that supports the museum.
And then you get invited to all kinds of membership events, like these parties out at the farm where we sit and eat beef that was raised right there. I mean, you're literally looking at beef standing in the field while you're eating hamburgers out there.
Eating Betsy.
Yeah. And then, you know, an auction after that where you get to buy all kinds of great vintage, you know, glassware and pottery and all kinds of things. So it's a lot of fun. Being a member of this is actually a great deal of fun.
Awesome. You're having this big event in March.
Big event in March,
so
21st.
Tell us about that.
It is the Swan Ball, so called because of that most iconic piece that we have, which is our Pall Mall
Which
swan.
is what we have here.
Yes.
And that's on a Saturday night?
It's on a Saturday night at the George Washington Hotel, which we have a long-standing history with. Great
There's
partners,
little
yes.
graphic about
Great
it.
partners that, yes, that swan in that picture is from last year's event at the George Washington. And they have an amazing hospitality team that puts everything together for me. Beautiful dinner. We have a disc jockey for dancing. We have live music during our VIP reception and our dinner. 2 different auctions, one live, one silent. We have a special gift for all of our guests this year, which is the little fish that we showed in that special color called jadeite. So last year I had people come in from the state of California for the event. So it does very well for us. It's a lot of work, but it was certainly worth it because we had a lot of fun. The George Washington does really special rates for our guests that want to stay over, and they have beautiful rooms upstairs that have just been refurbished. They've gone through an extensive restoration in the last couple of years, so it's really beautifully done now at the hotel.
So that starts at 6 p.m. on the 21st of March.
VIP reception starts at 5,
At 5.
and the regular ticket starts at 6.
Okay, so there's 2 levels of tickets you can purchase?
Yes. Well, the VIP reception is an add-on, essentially, yes.
So you don't have to be a member to attend this?
No, you do not have to be a member to attend this at all, no. But we did get a lot of people join right after last year's event, so I think they thought that we were fun enough that they wanted to then go ahead and be members after they had partied with us. Yeah.
And so it goes on to what time?
10 o'clock. We pull all of our silent auction at 9 o'clock so that everybody has time to get their things together, and the DJ still plays until 10 o'clock. Yeah.
Awesome. So where do we go to register for this?
That is on our website, duncan-miller.org. We also have the QR code that was on the graphics that they put up. So if you scan that, it takes you directly to the ticketing. Absolutely, yes. And all of the proceeds that every event that we do is for ongoing programming at the museum itself. And we provide programming for everybody from preschoolers, homeschoolers, assisted living groups come on tours. Like I said, we're handicapped accessible, so we're really good for those kinds of things. So we do a lot of programming, very wide ranging to accommodate everybody in the community, as well as visitors from out of state. We're big on tourism. We're a member of Washington County Tourism, and they're big supporters of ours. So it's like we keep going back to such a rich area.
Yeah.
And then we refer, like when they're done with a tour with us, people want to know what else do you do, and we have our list of restaurants that we send them to, or other museums that we send them to.
Nice.
And yeah, it's all a big happy family.
Sherri, we're at the end of the show, so
Oh
I
my
want to
goodness,
thank
went
you,
so
Sherri
fast.
Sulkowski.
Excellent.
And your title again at the museum?
My title at the museum is Special Events Coordinator. So I've been with them nearly 2 years. Came on last year because they had their 50th anniversary and they needed special programming for that anniversary, and have since added doing some educational programs for them, including the kids programming that we have. This year we have 3 programs coming up for kids, one having to do with the Sanibel fish that we talked about. We do another one that is called Be Our Guest, which is based on all of the characters that you know from Beauty and the Beast, because those were real things that you had in your home,
Yeah.
a candelabra and a teapot. And so we talk about all of those things during Be Our
Nice.
Guest. And we've added one this year that's called Set the Table. And it will have a customized placemat that the children will then take home. And we teach them how to set the table on that placemat. So
Perfect.
great program.
Thanks so much for coming on the
Excellent.
Dr. Ed Show.
Yes.
Remember,
Thank you for having me.
you can hear me live every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on AM 1250 The Answer. And a healthy pet is a happy pet. And when they're healthy, when you're healthy, you're happy as well. Sherri knows a lot about dogs. She's had a lot in her life
lot of
that
dogs.
she's taken care of. God bless. We'll talk to you next time.